Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today we're going to be working on this Stanley number 81. It has been neglected, but we will neglect it no longer. This is the number 81 that I picked up at the Best in the West tool meet about a month ago, but it's missing pretty much everything. I need the screw for the back of this. Well, thankfully, I have a friend, Just Plain Fun, and he is the guy. If you're looking for parts, give them a call. He has one of everything. Honestly, I was kind of surprised, and when I call him for a particular part, he always has one in stock. So, yeah, the best place if you're looking for parts. For the sole, I'm going to be using this scrap piece of rosewood that I have. This is a beautiful chunk that was left over, and it ended up being almost exactly the size it needs to be. It's just ever so slightly long. So we're going to smooth up one of these faces, and this will be the face that goes against the body of the plane. And once I get that good and smooth, then we can attach the plane body to it. And it was originally attached with 4 screws. Unfortunately, I didn't have those screws, and I could have asked Just Plain Fun if he had some of the original ones, but in this case, I had some in my stock that would work out great. They had Phillips heads. So after dimensioning 3 of these sides, we needed to figure out exactly how long this is. And to do that, we can take the body itself and mark off of that with a marking gauge. And then this will tell us how far we need to mark down this way. And yes, this is actually square, so it's the same dimension one way or the other. And so we can cut that off. The bench hook makes this pretty easy. I could have put in the bench vise. For small things like this, the bench hook makes it a lot easier to hold on to them. I'm going to plane off and smooth that end. I probably could have used a block plane, but I find using the large low-angle jack to be a little more comfortable to use, even on something small like this. I'm going to mark one of these screw holes so we can put that in. Now, I don't want these to stick out the bottom, and so I'm actually going to take the tip off because we're going to make the hole the same size as the shank of the screw. And I want to make sure I test that beforehand. So I have another piece of wood we're going to put a hole into, and then that will allow me to put the screw in and test and make sure this actually fits. I want it to be a nice tight fit, but I don't want it to be spreading the wood or putting any pressure on that. I want it to hold the wood without cracking it. So then once I know I have the right one, we can drill that one hole in the one corner, and I can put that one screw in. I haven't marked anything else. I'm just going to put in this one, and that will allow me to then make sure everything is locked in place so I can mark the other 3. It makes it a lot more accurate to get those holes exactly where I want. So I can center mark all 3 other holes and then take it apart and drill those holes out. Rinse and repeat. 3 more holes. 3 more screws, and these holes only go through this block about 2/3 of the way, so there isn't a lot of thread into it, which is one of the problems that some of them had, is that they ended up stripping out, and you'd see replacement soles on these or weird wear patterns, and yeah, you come across quite a few of them without the wooden sole anymore. They work without the wooden sole, but it just feels good. So I can then plane off the bottom, smooth that out, and get it close to it. I'm going to do a little more detail right before the final end, but I want to get it down close to where I want it to be. I'm going to chamfer for all the edges because I don't want splinters to pop out on me when we are actually using it. But then we realized there's a problem here. I put the card in, and I need a hole in the bottom of this. So let's mark that out. We can use a pencil to mark out the front and the 2 sides, but I can't use the pencil to mark out the back of it. And so for that, we're going to grab the marking gauge, and we can take that off of the body itself, put a line on there. To remove the waste in this hole, I'm going to put a hole at either end, and then I'm going to take it over to the bird's mouth. This is a resting platform that raises it up to eye height. Works great with a coping saw or a fret saw, and I can come in, and in this case, I'm just going to use my turning saw because it gives me a nice long stroke and cut from one hole to the other. Then for the last little detail, we're going to put it up in a hand screw vise, put that hand screw vise in the actual bench vise, and then I can come in with files and rasps and detail it down. One edge of this is actually at an angle to match the angle of the sole, and I want to make sure that the card can fit through it and that the angle matches the body as well. Now we're going to file the card and sharpen that down. If you haven't known how to sharpen a card scraper, it's the exact same thing. Now, if I were to get an original, there would be a 45-degree angle on this. It's not necessary. It just makes it a little bit easier for future sharpening. So in this case, I'm just going to sharpen as a card scraper and burnish one edge. You just have to make sure that the burnished edge is the edge that's aimed forward in the actual cutting. We can then fit it into place and take this thing for a test drive and see how it does. And it takes a little bit more setup. I actually like the setup on the 80. I find that a little bit easier to tune up and get going. But I was really happy with this one. I was getting some really nice shavings on this. I needed to do a little more sharpening, but for the test drive, you can see it works out well. And I'm getting a nice clean chunk on this board. Even though this board has grain going one direction or the other, you can see, ooh, that's a happy reflection. I love this thing. So there you have it. Rosewood sole, all of the pieces back in there. Yes, I know I did put Phillips in there, and I didn't do anything with the nickel plating. I could have cleaned that up, but I wanted something that was functioning. I've wanted a Stanley 81 for a long time. I've got several others of the scraper planes, but the Stanley number 80, well, it honestly does the work just as good. Though some people will say with the hardwood surface, it's going to burnish the surface a little bit better. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Honestly, they'll both do the same thing, and this one is way cheaper, as well as far more available. But it's basically just a holder for a card scraper. And I had a lot of fun with this. Now that I have one in stock, I might be doing another video here on scrapers, because they are a really interesting tool, especially when you have large flat surfaces. Anything that goes back and forth, like this particular one with the grain goes this way on one side and this way on this side, the scraper will run right through it without any problem at all. And an 81 just feels so much better to use than a simple 80. I mean, the 80 is just a hunk of steel with a steel body, whereas this is a soul. So yeah, the 81, it's a very pretty plane. And I hope you like this. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, or just want to be snarky, throw those comments down below. Thank you. I do love reading through those, especially the snarky comments. It means a lot and helps us get in front of more people. And honestly, if you put a snarky comment down below, it helps out this channel, as well as just putting CBD or comment down below. Thank you. It means a lot. But you can go even farther and join these people over here. All of those names over there, those are some of the patrons on Patreon. And between patrons and members, people who click that thank you button down below, you guys support this channel. And without you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you. You are what makes Wood by Wright happen. And without that, we'd be gone. So I hope you like that. If you'd like to find out more about that, you know what to do. Links down below. I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. The big problem with the Stanley number 80 is that it lost. And how do I know that the number 80 lost? Well, that's because the number 80 won.